Yeah, my name is Adam Blythe. I'm with the Department of Insurance, Office of State Fire Marshal, which is under the Department of Insurance. I've worked there almost 5 years as their pretty much GIS coordinator. And a big part of what we do is we rate fire departments, and I'll kind of go over a little bit what that is, and also talk about, I'm assuming, I just appreciate people being here, but I assume that, how many of you work with local governments in here? Most of you, okay, yeah. So this is stuff that's going to apply direct. This is a little bit of a focus topic, but also we'll talk about a little bit about fire district mapping and kind of stuff going on. But I'm going to breeze through this because normally I give this about 45 minutes, an hour. But we have had some updates, and I just really want to clear up some maybe questions you have about the data submission and just know how important the data is, how important it is what you submit to our office. So let's see if I can make this work. I think we got it done here. All right, old school. All right, so ISO mapping request, you have the power to help lower your community's fire rating, and that is the truth. The thing about North Carolina is we are the only state in the country that has our own ISO ratings inspectors. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what ISO is. I'm going to throw them around a lot. We're the only state that does that, which means that we can give individual attention to the quality of our mapping and what is submitted for these ratings, and which comes down to you and your work. So what is a fire rating? Insurance companies, they use fire ratings to help set homeowners' insurance rates. So fire insurance ratings, they calculate how well-equipped fire departments are to put out fires in the community. So basically, like we go in and we have inspectors that go and look at anything from, what kind of fire trucks you're using, what kind of community risk reduction you have. And also a big part of that is mapping and, how far you are from a hydrant, so forth. You're going to hear me talk about ISO. It stands for Insurance Services Office, not the data standard. It's a subsidiary of Verisk Analytics. And the word PPC is what I'm going to talk a little bit about the public protection classifications, which are like numbers. You have a rating system, 1 to 10, and we'll talk about what that is. But they set up that whole classification system, and so, and I got to go down there and hang out with them for a little bit and learn kind of their process. But they're very protective over their data and what comes in. So I'm kind of here to help that process moving forward. So in general, the price of fire insurance in a community with a good PPC is substantially lower than a community with a poor PPC. So these are the different categories that ISO calculates: total score 0 to 105.5. Emergency communications, you can get 10 points. Your fire department, that's your fire department inspection. Water supply, maximum 40 points. That's really important. We'll talk about hydrant quality. Community risk reduction. See, these are different classes. If you've heard about the fire department getting a class 1 or a class 5, this is what it refers to, that ISO rating scale. Class 10, that's how many points you get in the rating, 0 to 9. Class 1, 90 or more. And then if you get a good classification, it's usually a big deal in the fire world, and you get to take pictures of the commissioner and all that stuff. So, again, we're the only state that has our own fire ratings inspectors. We have currently have 9 ratings inspectors, just hired another one. And we rate all jurisdictions under 100,000 population. So anything above that, like your Winston-Salem's, are going to be inspected by ISO. And this is how much savings you could get from going from like a class 10 to a class 9, class 9 to 8. The biggest is just being rated in the first place. Going from a class 10 to a class 9. Just having that first step gets you a big savings. And then from there on up to about 5. But after that, it's just really, other than commercial, it's more for bragging rights. We got a class 1 or 2. So our GIS mapping request. Who remembers who was working in your local department when we used to request maps like this? Yeah. So this was less than 10 years ago. We were requesting large paper maps from individual counties, and to calculate these mileages, we would use a mapping wheel. Has anybody ever used one of those? Okay, yeah. So, and the maps are supplied by local jurisdictions to calculate mileages. So that's where we were just 10 years ago, at least. So now we have new network analyst tools, and we can use these calculations a little more accurately. We can get mileages calculated more accurately. And we do require less support from the local governments. Everything's more electronic based, but so if you're within your jurisdiction or county, and a goal of mine is to talk to every single one of you and get your email address, or like Catherine suggested, maybe get a survey 123 out. Traditionally, we've been contacting fire marshals themselves, and that's gotten us nowhere. So I'm going to start directly contacting GIS folks. And if you get this letter from us, then within the next quarter or 2, someone in your department, a fire department in your jurisdiction, in your county, will probably be rated. And these are the things that we'll request: fire response district polygons, municipal boundary polygons, fire station location points, water supply locations, hydrants, water points, and then a new one, which I'll talk about, automatic aid polygons. And some of you may already have that in like an ESN layer or a first due or whatever you call it. So, fire response districts. Districts are area within a city, town, municipality that is established in order to provide fire prevention. What we want, and this is something I want to clear up, is some counties are used to submitting, at one point in time, we requested just 5 and 6 mile districts. Here's the good news: the county no longer needs to generate those for us. ISO does that on the back end. So all we require is a full response district. And ISO or our office, if we're double checking it, we will run those calculations for you. So all we need is a full response district and the entire area, which is the entire area that the fire department covers. In a municipal district, that's going to be a municipal boundary. So we're going to run that analysis for you. So the problem with sending in 5 and 6 mile districts is there's always gaps in between there. So we'll talk about that too. Again, this is just some terminology. A 5 mile district, for insurance purposes, is a fire district, may not extend more than 5 road miles from a responding station. Municipal districts always follow municipal boundaries. Rural district, 6 mile districts, you can get credit for between 5 and 6 miles, but not in a municipal boundary. So a municipality can have a rural district. And this is just visualizations: 5 mile, the area in red is 6 mile, and everything outside of that is what's called class 10, and you basically get no protection. So here's Lincolnton's municipal district. Again, within the municipal district, you cannot have a 6, so it can only go up to 5 miles in municipality. But that municipality can serve a rural district, and in that rural district, you can travel up to 6 miles. So this is good to know. If your county manager requests, okay, hey, I want you to run these 5, 6 mile districts for us, which it's good for inventory purposes. Like, note, if it is within a municipality, that it should stop at 5 miles. Okay, but if you do have a municipality that serves an area outside of it, then it can go all the way to 6 miles, and then everything outside there, you might want to think about adding in a separate substation or looking at automatic aid agreements. Automatic aid. So this is what's new, and it's really helpful for departments, and this is where it kind of falls on you to help out a little bit with the mapping. So you notice here, this on the far end over here, that address is 5.3 miles from the Wilkesboro Fire Station. So it's outside the municipal boundary. So it's beyond coverage, but Wilkesboro has an automatic aid agreement with Miller's Creek for an engine to respond in this area, so which is only 3.2 miles away. So by them having that agreement on file, and we have the maps on file, basically now that section of Wilkesboro can take on the primary station's rating, which can solve a lot of problems. And here's just a look at the actual report that recognizes Wilkesboro, that address. All right. And then these are the requirements to make that happen. Provide a copy of automatic aid agreements or contracts. A map must be provided to department or county that will show the area of automatic aid engine is covering. This map is not needed. It doesn't need to be approved. Provide some type of proof that communication centers are dispatching these automatic aid stations on structure fires. Again, just going over some of the data layers we're requesting. Submit the full response district polygons. There should be no gaps or no man's land in your data. Class 10 is still a rating. So yeah, none of this. Make sure your attribute your districts with the proper fire department name so ISO can know. You know, a lot of times I'll receive data, it's like got abbreviations in it, and ISO doesn't know who, you know, AVL is or AFD or whatever. So, you know, make sure they're attributed. And municipal boundaries, it's really important to keep up with municipal boundaries. As an annexation could put residents in a class 10. So, you know, you got these little satellite annexations, and I see this a lot in these bigger growing communities like Gaston County, you know, where you got all these new annexations. And so if we submit to ISO and these haven't been accounted for, you could have, you know, they could see them in class 10 and not in the proper district, or in a whole nother district altogether. Water supply locations. So if possible, you know, designate your points as a pressure hydrant, dry hydrant, or a suction point. If you don't know what that is, here we go. So pressure hydrants are hydrants that are supplied by water from pumps and tanks. So this is like the ones you see run down the street that your dog kind of likes to go gravitate towards on a walk. Dry hydrants, they kind of look like little straws, you know, usually connecting to a water source. And suction points, you know, you're going to pull water out of that lake. Or the main thing is just if it is a water point of some sort, just let us know so we don't get it confused with hydrants. Supplying incomplete hydrant data can lead to an inaccurate coverage. So depending on how the department is rated, you know, we like to see how many road miles are with 1,000 feet of a hydrant. And this has been a major thing where if sections of hydrants are left out or not provided, I'll reframe that. Adding in sections of hydrants can really improve a rating, so to speak. So, best practices when you create, we recommend parcel-based mapping for fire districts. You know, we still get some that are kind of just have been digitized and cutting through in the middle of someone's property. It's just going to be easier on everyone if we can tie that fire district to one parcel. You know, create coincident boundaries with that. So the way I think about it is if a parcel has, you know, access, if there's road access to that parcel, what fire department is responding down that road? And say that, I mean, the access could be like this guy, it's like right here. You want to include whoever's closest first, you know, versus this access is back there somewhere in that big multi-acre property. But that's just recommendations. And this is how we can help. We do say you're a part of a smaller county, doesn't have a lot of resources. We do help with, we'll run deployment analysis or I'll be glad to share kind of how I do some of this and you know, if you get something you want to do for your county. So if you're thinking about relocating a station, like the impacts of that would have from an ISO perspective, but also just a response. Done quite a few of those. District validations and just consulting with mapping your fire districts. But yeah, station relocation, a lot of times a fire chief would want to make a decision whether to move a certain engine or ladder. A ladder truck is a very important, it can have a big impact in a rating. So if you move that ladder truck to another station, it could, really impact the total mileage. So we'll run those for you. So, sorry, that was really fast. Like I said, I normally do this in like twice the amount of time. So now I have a few minutes for questions, if anybody has any or need me to clarify something. Yeah. One, I'm doing that in Pro. And, mainly using just full statewide, network data sets. So. Right. Yes. Yeah, so you'll have, you get the total road mileage for your whole county. And so you'll run this analysis and you will clip out the roads out of that and you'll get your percentage from that. So that's how ISO gets their hydrant percentage. Yeah, it's just a buffer. So, but you'll use that and you can clip out your roads and then you can use that as a percentage of the total. But just keep in mind that your protected road mileage is only going to be to 5 miles. Yeah. So, no problem. Anybody else? Yeah. Yeah. This one? Yes. It is the rural district. So that is going to be outside of a municipal boundary. So the pink area is the municipal boundary. So that's not necessarily a 6 mile. That's the coverage can extend through 6 miles out this way. So this may include totally within 5 miles, but that's their rural district. So because they serve that section of town that's not within the municipal boundaries. And so you're not going to get quite as good a rating out there, but you're still going to get a decent rating versus, and that's why I didn't mention this, but ratings can be split. So like the Lincolnton Rural District, that could be what's called like it could be a 3.6 or 3.5, and the 5 is what's in that rural district, what's covered out there. So, and the main point of this is just to kind of drive home how important the work you do is. It is kind of scary to think, this ISO is working with, all 50 states, essentially. They don't know that you have a golf cart path running through that could actually be included in the distance. Like they're using, probably nationwide road data sets. They don't care about the inaccuracy of your data as much as like us having our own inspectors and having an eye on this. We can help kind of improve the accuracy of it. And that's why I kind of like we go to these things and talk about it, because it really does make a big difference what you guys are doing. And I just want to make sure our office is clear, because I know in the past, there's been a lot of questions about what to send in, why we're sending this in. But, no, it is a lot easier. Like, we just basically want response districts, keep on top of the hydrants and all that other data, so. Yes, sir, in the back.
When the inspections coming up, how long before the inspection should we expect a request from you all for the day?
Right. My goal is, we've been working on this, my goal is at least about 6 months, 4 to 6 months. Because there's this process that happens with ISO where they're kind of working off old data. So by the time you get it out there, that electron distribution I showed you, they're still using old data for that just because of the timing of everything. But if I can get the data in a couple months ahead of time, we can actually use your new data for the inspection. And that's my goal, is to get it out 6 months earlier. So that's why I'd really like to just get a contact list going. I like to go straight to the GIS person. Yeah, because I know exactly how it is going to the fire chief, fire marshal, and they're going to come to you last minute and be like, I need this data, and then next week. So me as a GIS person coming in this office, who used to be on the other end in local government, saw the headache. So, that's my goal, is to make sure that you have this letter way before anything else. We may even have to change inspection date, but you'll know that within the next 6 months that an inspection will occur, so. All right, we got, I think, just enough time to switch to the next. All right, thank y'all.